Hi everyone. Welcome again to this week's office hour drop-in collaborative chats and whatever we decide to name it. Um, yeah, again, the idea of this drop-in is to ensure that we can have a place to chat about the stuff we've been doing during the week and basically answer any questions or resolve any blockers or any issues, and also just share what we've learned over the course of the week. So if there is anything that anyone wants to share that they learned during the course of the week, AI related, or even if it's not AI related, could be general tech related stuff, feel free to share in the chat. So I'll give 2 or 3 minutes for that. I'll also share mine in the chat actually. Okay, so while waiting for others to share theirs, so as usual, we'll do a recap again of what we did this week and try to do a couple of demos if possible. Yeah, so as we know, feel free to stop me anywhere if you have like questions or anything you would like us to talk more about. Um, yeah, that's it. So without further ado, I am going to. Okay. Yeah, it's fine if you haven't attempted it. Yeah, we'll also kind of like go um, in details into it this evening. So they can help you, breeze through it when you do them yourselves after the office hour. Yeah, the prompt gov one. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, so yeah, since previous week, we essentially we did a recap of what we've learned so far. So better ways to prompt, things to look out for. We also looked into how to break down tasks into like step-by-step doable processes. Uh, so we also looked into automation and simple automation tooling and how to bring AI into automation. All right. So I'm not really going to go into the details of each day. I think for this evening, I'm going to focus more on automation. So yeah, this evening we're going to focus more on the automation side of things. Basically because that's where things get a bit tricky. For the prompting, we can feel free to just share whatever your blockers are in the chat on the community. So, for day 15, we basically shared how to go through how to create like basic automation. Um, and I shared a Loom video earlier in the week explaining this. And we'll basically also do the same thing here right now. For our automation for this learning guide, I mentioned in the Loom video that we will be working with Make. Um, there are actually lots of automation tools. There's anything, the AI tooling themselves. So Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, they also allow you to do basic automation. There's also Make, there's Zapier, and a few other tooling. The reason we went with Make is because compared to the other tools, for the native AI ones like ChatGPT and Claude, they are only on paid plans, so you can't really get to use it if you're on the free plan. And we try to be as inclusive as we can. For the other ones like Zapier and other tooling, they have some automation features that you can use, but a lot of them are also gated behind a paywall, so you've got to pay to use it. So Make was the one that made the most sense that we could use to show stuff. So if you don't have a Make account, create one for free. Um, so what we'll be building, the automation we'll be building this evening is going to have we're going to have three entities to it. So we'll make an assumption, we'll have a scenario of a company trying to automate something, and we'll make an assumption and then try to do the automation ourselves. So the scenario we'll be painting this evening is of a company that is that receives customer query, and they want to schedule like auto replies to customer query. So I know it's quite possible that a number of people have used automated chatbots or chatbots with automated responses in the past. um so in the past, again, it's you could basically do something called sentiment analysis, or some other like traditional machine learning approaches to like extract what the user is trying to report, or what your customer is complaining about, and then use that to like form some automated responses to them. But with the advent of like LLM, it's even easier to just tell your AI to respond directly to like a query without you needing to run any traditional machine learning approach. All right, so this evening we will be using Google Sheets. I'll also use like OpenAI for the AI layer, and yeah, Google Sheet and Google Forms for like the business layer of things. All right, so let's go to Make. Again, for me, I already have a Make account, so I don't need to like register again. But for anyone that doesn't have a Make account, register. A lot of things that we'll be working with in AI Bridge is going to be based on scenarios. So you have like different scenarios, and you automate things differently. So um in this case, let's start by creating a scenario. So remember that, okay, let me just go to my Google Sheet first. I think, no, not sheet.new. Just gonna type Google Sheets. Yeah, so I've got some existing Google Sheets actually. Let me just remove these answers. So let's paint the scenario that we are running maybe some marketing campaign or ad or something. And when a user um, puts in like a query or question, we the question automatically comes to Google Sheets, and we want to automatically generate answers for them. Again, this scenario could apply to anything. For instance, at Bridge Tech, we sometimes run marketing campaigns, and with Instagram or like Meta generally. And these campaigns, they Meta kind of gives us daily reports in Google Sheets, emails, and some other things that you collect. So it's possible that on Instagram you've seen that an ad before that asks you, that advertise something to you and ask you about details, or something like that. So it's possible that the people who are advertising can gather this answer in like a Google Sheets or something. So in our case, we'll kind of like make that and assume that like a user question comes in into a Google Sheet, and we want our AI to automatically generate answers to us and put these answers in another column. You could use this thing for anything. It could be like It could be like accounting, where you want some things to be auto calculated. It could be, anything basically. So let's start with this simple case. All right, so the first things first is again, here we create a new scenario. Um, so you create your first, app or module. In our case, we need Google Sheets. So you select Google Sheets. What we also want to do, the action we want to perform is we want to watch new rows, essentially, because what we want to do is we want to generate an answer when a question is asked by a user, right? So watch new rows. Yeah, it asks for your connection. In my case, I already have connection set up, but if you didn't have connection, all you have to do is just add like a new connection. It will tell you to connect like your Google account so that Make can access your Google Docs or Sheets and stuff like that. Then search method will be set enter manually. Um, Sorry. So it's gonna ask for the spreadsheet ID. The spreadsheet ID is explained here. Usually Google Sheets are of this, the form of the URL is of this form. So docs.google.com/spreadsheet/d/ the ID. So the ID is usually, somewhere here. So we put the spreadsheet ID. Then the sheet name is usually on the bottom left side of your Google Sheet. You could customize what the sheet name is. But in our case, the default one is sheet one. So we'll just put sheet one. Does our table contain headers? Yes, we have two headers. What are the row with headers? The row with headers are A1 to B1, essentially. Just leave it as default and yep, save this. At which point do you want to start processing data? I want to process all data that comes into the sheet, right? So you do that. That is the first module. So what we want to do then is we want to connect this module to our next module. The next module is the AI layer, right? In our case, again, we could choose to use different AI tooling. I think they also have Claude somewhere here. If you prefer to use Claude, there's Gemini. If you prefer to use Gemini as your AI layer, but for us, I'm going to use OpenAI, which is the parent company for ChatGPT. And I'm going to use a simple text prompt because what we are doing here is really simple. You can, play around and create more complex scenarios as you want. But for us, we want something that is really simple for this webinar. So the model, we can use 5.4 mini. 5.4 mini is, from the word, the model version itself is 5.4, and mini is just like a minimized version. Simple tasks, but still intelligent, right? So our text prompt is whatever we want the AI to do, right? So we basically remember that what we want our AI to do is customers are going to be asking questions, and we want AI to auto-generate answers for our customers in this case. So we just tell the AI, you are a customer, you are an assistant for a company. Your role is to generate responses to customer inquiries. Uh, let's give it guidelines. So number one guideline is let's limit the length of the response. So you should always reply in less than 50 words. All right. Always use a warm tone. What else? Maybe a couple of sentences. Your reply should be a couple of sentences at most. All right. So yeah. So okay. So this is the system prompt to the AI. But it needs to take in the input. Like, how does it know what inquiry it needs to reply to, right? So we need to pass the input to it, and here we say customer inquiry is always remember that automation is essentially a layer after a layer, right? So the first layer is the input. The center layer is something like the processing layer, and then the last layer is where we write our output. So the input from this Google Sheet, we need to pass it to OpenAI or like a ChatGPT model, a GPT model rather. And how do we pass it? You see, when you click this already, we can already see like a small sort of like modal by the right that gives you like the output from your first module. So in our case, what we want to pass to it is the customer question. So questions, column, and the row. So in this case, what we are saying essentially is that the customer inquiry would be found on questions and the row. So the questions column is A, and so A2, A3, A4. As new rows come in, A5, A6, A7, and stuff like that. So you can save this. And then the last thing we want to do is when the GPT model finishes processing or generating like a reply, we want to write the output to the Google Sheet back. So we sheet again. And this time around, we are updating a cell. We are updating a cell because, again, if you go back to our Google Sheet, for the input, we are reading this cell. For the output, we want to write to this answers column. Yeah. So same thing as what we did for the input. We're gonna enter manually. The spreadsheet ID is this ID. The sheet name is sheet one, and the cell. So the cell here is the cell we want to write to, right? So in our case, our cell is gonna be B. So in this case, they are saying enter the cell ID that is A1, B2, B3. The cell we want to write to in this case will be B. Yeah, I've got to pause this and take this call. Sorry, apologies. All right, apologies for that. So, yeah, so the cell we are writing to would be again column. Our answers column in this case is B, and then the row has to be dynamic because as the question is coming, we want to generate a corresponding answer, right? So the column is B here, and whatever the row number is going to be automatically computed. And the value here would be the results from the OpenAI module, right? So the result here, and then we can save this. There's an error. Value must not be empty. Value is not empty, so we didn't see this. All right, cool. So yeah, and then that's essentially like a simple automation. There's a question. The first integration from Google Sheet to OpenAI is the input, and then the second integration back to Google Sheet is the output. Exactly. Yeah. So for the first layer, if I open this again, you see here we are saying that we want to do a connection to Google Sheets, and we are saying that these are the rows with headers. This is the sheets number. Basically, just pick your inputs from this, and then let OpenAI, let a GPT model action on whatever it gets here. And how is it actioning? is by saying, this is what your GPT model should do, and this is the input to it, the customer inquiry. We tell it like you can basically tell it anything. It doesn't have to be this format. I could have written the customer inquiry is, basically this. And then we are writing back to the Google Sheets, which is the output that is generated by the AI in this case. And the output can be anything, honestly. Again, we can try to simulate a lot of scenarios. But like, let's save this simple scenario. This is the simplest form of automation with Make that I could think of. And yeah, let's run once. So it's currently running. This is done. This is done. This is done. So let's go back to our Excel and you can see it's all written to our Excel now. So if the customer were to ask, how can I order for pizza? And then the output that will be generated to the customer will be sure you can order pizza by visiting our website, blah, blah, blah. What's the best way to request for refund? Something like that. And this is essentially, like the simplest form of like a chatbot automation. Again, we are using Google Sheets here because this is like a non-coding guide, right? So this is just the way we could simulate like a chatbot or something like that. Yes, we can. So Eunice is asking if we are able to automate Gmail and Claude using Make. Yes, we can, and we'll get to that. So yeah, essentially, and then this is basically just the answer. If we were to, whip up like maybe a small chatbot by the side of the website, and we connect it to like an OpenAI, and we connect this to like an OpenAI like API, basically. It's basically the same thing. What we've done here is what we'll do here. We just give it a prompt and we'll say every time somebody types something in the form, that's the input, and then generate a response, and we'll pass the response back to the website. And that's honestly the basics of, like a chatbot assistant. So this is the first instance that we're going to talk about. Let's think of like another instance. Another instance that we could do is um let's assume that hmm, let's assume that we are doing like simple accounting for our firm, right? And let's assume that we have a column sheet. Assuming that you are the manager of a company, you have people working for you, and every day they need to update column sheets of um they need to update column sheets of uh like your maybe like your profit and loss. Um, like you have like a Google sheet that calculates like your profit and your loss per day. This is an example of something else that we can automate. But before I get to that, those would be like later examples. Another thing I would like to simulate is I want to show that let me just save this. I want to show that we can also connect like other things. So let's assume that we have like a Google form. That's another example. Assume we have like a Google form that we use to collect um like feedback from our users. And we want it to be that every time there's a feedback, we want like a summary of that feedback or something like that. We can also do this using like simple like AI automation. So let me just go back to scenarios and create like a new scenario. So in this case, instead of Google Sheets, let's connect like a Google form. So let's say Google Forms. What we want to do is we want to watch the response. So when a new response is received from a Google form, we want to do something with it. Um, I think I have like sample forms I can use to test. So yeah. So let me see. Let's do the feedback form first. So let's assume there's a sample feedback form that we have here, where we use to gather feedback from users, right? And we say basically two questions just to make things easy. What stood out for you in the last session, and what are you looking forward to in subsequent sessions, right? And we want to So the user is going to write lots of um user is going to write like lots of like paragraph, like the long text form, and they could, write as many as write. But assuming we are interested in like summary that each user writes. So every time a user fills in the feedback form, I want to receive like a summary of um what they've written basically um in my own like mailbox. Assuming that I don't want to read like long form text. So let's try to do this with make. So I've got this form. This is the form ID, similar to how we copy the ID for the other one. Um, and yeah, let me see if we can search it. The form title is this. Say at which point you want to start processing data once your scenario is running. Anytime from now, start processing. Uh, so let's add an AI module on top. Similar to what we had, simple text prompts. Again, let's use simple model, 5.4 mini, works fine. What we want to do is we want a summary of um, any answer by like somebody providing feedback. So the prompts would be something like I want to, let's say, summarize the feedback from my customers and reasonable action provide reasonable insights where necessary. All right. So we then need to pass in our input. We need to pass in the input to the form, to our prompt. So let's see. Mm, I'm gonna save this first and try to refresh this. Interesting. The form ID wasn't saved for some reason. So I'm just gonna copy this again. And here we can refresh the form. Actually, I should refresh here the form too. Yeah, because I'm expecting to be able to, able to provide like the input. So what happened is make as fetch like what our Google form looks like, and we can pass this to OpenAI right now. So we can say the first feedback from the user is the first question, what stood out to the user, and then the second feedback is this question from the user. Uh, yeah, this one. So we've linked it nicely. So the last thing is now for this module, I'm not going to simulate writing back to Google Sheets. I'm going to simulate getting sent an email myself. So we can do Gmail integration, send an email. I already have like my Google account connected, so it's obviously brings it out. But for anyone who did not connect like their Google account, you have to do that. The recipients is myself. I could choose to send like a response back to the user themselves. So assume that the user makes a complaint about something, and I want to auto-generate responses. I want LLM and AI to generate responses based on like some form of inquiry. I could tell, GPT like generate a response based on what the user has done and send this email back to them. But for the purpose of this test, I'm going to just send an email back to myself so I can show it to you. So to the recipient email, the subject, let's say summary of which tech feedback. What HTML? Maybe not. I would prefer to send like text. Body of text should be the result from OpenAI. So whatever the AI's result is, just send it to me. Of course, you can like customize this and make things, nicer, but this is just for, a simple demo. I don't need any signature and any of that. So save this and yeah, let's have somebody because I am the editor, I'm not able to test. So let's have somebody fill in this form and just fill in something. So can somebody on the chat fill in this form and yeah, and once anyone is done, let's know. Do we have any volunteer that is going to like just fill the form for us? Actually, I may as well just do a test myself. Yeah, I'm filling the form. I mean, I cannot fill this already, so.
I filled it as well.
Okay. Thanks. So, yeah, there's like a response that has come in. I can run my automation now, and yeah, let's see if this works. Yeah, so this works nicely. I already received like emails actually. Uh, yeah, so this is a summary of feedback. Here is a concise summary of the customer feedback along with some reasonable insights. Customer one described the experience as organized. Customer two mentioned the lessons as the main point of feedback, but the comment is incomplete, so the exact statement is unclear. The insight is the first one to suggest, all of those things, overall takeaway, customer seems to value organization and paying experience. If someone else feel this, so here's another customer feedback. It was engaging. Sentiment was positive. What it suggests customers found the experience interesting. Second thing they would like to learn is like how to connect to Slack. So the sentiment is neutral. They're looking for guidance. Basically, that's exactly it. And yeah, that's like an example of how you could automate something around, like customer feedback and stuff like that. So you would notice that for the two scenarios that we painted, for example, I have to run these things manually myself, but that's again because for the sake of like demo, right? You could have it run in the background. So you basically create your automation and it runs itself in the background. So you just have to like put it on here and tell it when to run at regular intervals, once daily, on weekdays, stuff like that. So for me, saying it must be higher than or equal to 15, which is exactly what I'm running once because yeah, like we can't really wait 15 minutes on the call for like make to go and check like Google form responses and send me. But if you were to do this yourself, you can try this yourself and yeah, just have like an automation and once you test it manually and it works fine, and I'm receiving a lot of emails now. Once you test it manually and it works fine, you can basically, just set it and automatically the automation will be picked up by itself. So that's a second example of that's a second example of like a scenario where we can like automate and with a sprinkle of like AI and stuff like that. Um, One more scenario that I can paint before we like seek other scenarios from other people is I've got a second form here. Hmm. So I've got a second form here that I call a complaints form. So sometimes let's paint a scenario where you are a solo founder, you are running, I don't know, Black Friday or something like that, and you are running into like a lot of issues. It's not every complaint from customer that you can answer, right? Or let's assume that you want to route different complaints to different people based on, where it comes from or like stuff like that. Or maybe you want to only deal with specific complaints, right, for specific people. Um, what we can do is, so let's assume that we have a complaint. We've got like a category. If a user comes to the form, they select a category of their complaints. Whether it's something related to promotions or refund or vacancies, details of their complaints, and the best way to reach them. And let's assume that in our scenario is a really busy founder that, for now, they are only interested in automated responses for refunds, right? So let's try to simulate this. So again, we go to our scenario, create a new scenario. We're gonna use Google Forms again. Google Forms. What we want to do again is watch responses. Uh, the form ID now is this one. Save, process all. And let's assume we want to yeah, like have our AI generate automatic response to maybe our account officer, or like let have our AI um generate so let's assume that we want to route all refunds to our account officer, and we want our AI to generate like insights, or like what can help our account officer resolve like refund issues, right? So as usual, let's use like a simple text prompt, 5.4 minutes again. And let's say um mm, you are assistant helping with processing funds for each tech for every detail of complaints. Let's say for every complaint, summarize what the user needs and a possible way to resolution. Uh, so the user complaints is the response from our Google form, um, this one. So save it. So every time like a user submits the form, it comes in here and AI kind of like reads it, understands it, provides a summary. And what should we do again? Maybe send an email again. Gmail, send an email. Um, so let's send an email to myself again. The subject, let's call it refund complaints. Text, the body of the text should be whatever results AI has generated for me. Uh, yeah, save it. And yeah, so let me share this form in the charts. Let's have someone fill it, and yeah, just let me know when someone has filled it. So while it's being filled, I'm just gonna cross-check a few things. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, quality of software. I'll study it with resolving customer. For every complaint, summarize what the user needs and the way to resolution. So is it user complaints? Okay, so someone has filled this already. Let's run this. Yeah, I've got the email already. Because okay, yeah, this was an existing one. So the user says they were charged twice for their last one-on-one mentorship and they want the duplicates checked. They want either a refund for the extra debit or to have the amount applied or validated against an upcoming mentorship session. So the possible resolution that AI is suggesting to our account officer is to verify the transaction history for the mentorship booking and confirm whether a duplicate payments actually occurred. If it did, process a refund. The user has an upcoming mentorship offer to apply this. And yeah, basically, that's it. Um, we could update this, for instance, and say, rather than send me an email, the recipient should be the person who filled the form. So in this case, it's just as simple as changing the recipient's email address to respondent email. And let's save this, but I'm not gonna run it because yeah, I'm going to change this now. So what I want to change is your assistant helping with resolving customer complaints for Beach Tech. For every complaint, I mean, of course, makes no sense for us to summarize to the user back what they've written. So what I will do is for every complaint, I'll assure the user that we have received their complaints and that we are working to resolve it. Let's tell you to crack a joke on how customer is king. So I'm going to pass the user complaint to it. The body of the email should be we received your complaints. Yeah, so we can have someone fill this again, and let's see. Once we have someone fill it, let's know. So we can run the automation and test things. Yeah, if you received any email after you finish filling, are you able to share this in the chat, please? You wouldn't because I haven't run this. Again, we have to keep running this ourselves manually because something failed. We have to keep running this ourselves manually because scheduling is at most every 15 minutes, and yeah, we are unable to wait. The respondent email is empty. So if the user has chosen to not share their email, for example, can explain why the respondent email is empty. Yeah, this is the last, this is the results from OpenAI in case you are interested. Um, don't think I can view everything actually, but truly the respondent email is empty. I guess this is because whoever filled this has chosen to not share their email or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simulate that I'm the customer and just have the email come to me instead. Let's run this again. Yeah. So for the two people that filled, this is what they would have received originally. We've received your complaint and we are working on it. As also as they say, the customer is king. So we are looking for open euros, we treat your request like we are business, blah 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 blah. It's a dry joke, but your refund not being processed is noted. I will look into it right away. After our customer is king, and we don't like putting for better. So yeah, so essentially, that's an example of again like simple automation that you can do for like a customer service business. One thing that I want to um kind of like do is let's take this one step higher. So let's assume that you are not interested in all of the complaints that are coming. So remember that our form is we ask the user to select a category, yeah, like promotions, refunds, vacancies. Assume that we are only interested in our automation picking up refund related complaints. So it's as simple as creating what we call like filters and this is not just like with Make. Even if you are, doing like automations with Zapier or something, simple as also creating like a filter. So let's call it um let's say refunds only. The condition is we have to pick the category. mm, the value of the category, if it's equal to refunds, that's the only time we want our automation to run. So if we fill in a complaint again, can we have one person fill in again? And this time around, can we have two people fill in? Someone should indicate like refunds and someone should indicate um something else, maybe vacancies or stuff like that. And yeah, let's see. Also, I'm interested in my form processing. Yeah, there's really no way to beat the 15 minutes schedule because it's free. All right. So we add one person fill, and you can see like um there is like green um stuff, which means that like it's kind of like past like our check. So this person is complaining about like a bad product, and this is the response that would have been generated to them, something like that. So yeah, essentially, yeah, this is like simple automations that you can do. And like I said earlier on, there are like multiple scenarios that we can, paint. Uh, we can, for instance, simulate like and anyone can come up with a scenario that we can try out. We can simulate a scenario, for instance, um where you have maybe like an inventory, for instance, and every time the inventory needs to be updated. All right. So let's say maybe at the end of the day, when your like sales team update like your inventory, you want to receive maybe like an email. And it doesn't have to be email, it could be anything. You can connect like Slack or like even like your own custom app to it. So let's assume that every time like the inventory is updated, you want to receive an email when a good has less than like 10 in the inventory, 10 pieces in the inventory. Simple as this to just connect whatever holds your data, and you don't have to always use AI. You could create like simple automation, without using AI. So just connect your input data, do your processing somewhere in the middle. You can do multiple processing actually, and then just write your outputs elsewhere. And yeah, and with that you have like simple automations done already. I'm going to pause here and wait for anyone who has like questions. So if you have any question on this stage, please feel free to interrupt me and ask. I'm just going to discard this. Uh, yeah, so you can see there's also like a phone number dropping. Someone asked about Claude the other time. Yeah, like we could also have used like a Claude model actually. Um, you could also do like some much more complex like automation. For instance, you could connect like your database or even like your like Discord channels. So for someone who is like a community manager, let's assume that you want that how if you want a community, how you have like lots of I don't want to say noise, but like you have lots of people asking like questions and all of those stuff in your community. And assuming that you want to like delegate some of these things to maybe like your AI to auto reply on your behalf, right? Essentially, you can um, just like connect like your Discord or whatever wants your community, even WhatsApp, and you can basically say that for every message that comes into like this particular channel, read it. If the message is something about you can then list like a list of topics that you want. So if the message is something about someone asking about how to get started or something that AI categorizes as simple, then you should reply the message and the user's message, and you can give it the tone of response, or you can even tell it to watch out for like abusive like messages. So for every message that comes into the channel, like kind of like analyze it. If it's racist or abusive, then flag it and then send it to like an admin or like auto delete it, and you can basically run wide with whatever thing you are automating. So we've got like couple of like third-party apps. We've got Buffer, we have like Cloudinary, Canva, basically a lot of stuff. So um yeah, like if we have anyone that had like some scenarios they would like to us to walk through now, like we can. Otherwise, the ask for everyone here would be for the um, for the previous prompts that we generated in the first 10 days and some of the tasks that we had to do manually ourselves for the first 10 days. Let's think of ways that we can actually like automate this. For some of them, they would require more complexity than what I've demoed now. So, for example, if you need to you notice how most of my, let me go back to the scenarios if I have some of them saved. Yeah, you noticed how when we pick like a ChatGPT, let me just add like a new module. When we pick like the OpenAI module, I'm kind of like always picking like a simple text prompt because honestly what we are doing here is simple. But you can actually do like a lot more. You can, like you can generate images where is it? You can generate like a video based on what the user has inputted actually. You can generate images, you can generate speech to text, you can do like a lot more actually. You can generate like like a custom response. um, but the difference is that with the simple text, you can use it just from the word simple. You can use it for like simple automation stuff, but for like more complex ones, then you need to have like an API key, which unfortunately is only available for paid accounts, and like call like the open AI API yourself and just do basic stuff. So this would be for people who who like are possibly on the builder track and are looking to go beyond just basic automation. Let me just delete this one because we won't be using it. So yeah, so but Gemini provides you with Google AI Studio actually provides you with like free API key, even if you use like yeah, even if you use a like a free Google account, you can get like a free Google API key actually. And I can copy this for instance, and I'm not going to try to integrate their API right now, but I'm just going to show that it's possible. So if we do Google Vertex AI, which is like their own um, AI stuff, we can tell it to like, generate an image based on like some prompts that somebody has inputted and send them the image back. Um, it's going to ask you for your connection. Um, so for me to do the connection, I've got to like sign in with my Google account and stuff like that, but I'm not going to be doing that on a call. So let me look for one that requires me to have like an API key instead. Mm, so perform an API call. Okay, this is for like an external API call. If you want to make an API call to like a URL, for instance, this, but that's not what I'm looking for. So API. Create a chat box with connection. Actually, let me just try to sign in. Yeah, I need to like load in like my GCP project and stuff like that. So again, yeah, more often than not, you would really not need to make like your own APIs, except you need to do like really, really complex stuff that are not like kind of like allowed. But for even like the most complex stuff, like let's say generating like an image or something, right? Like you don't necessarily need like an OpenAI key and a Gemini key rather. You could, use like available image videos, passing like your prompts, what you need to do to generate images. You can one-shot it, which is why you remember we talked about one-shotting in the past. So you can provide reference images, kind of image I want to generate, what it should look like, or reference video, save it, and then that's added to your automation. So yeah, so there are like multiple, like scenarios or ways that we can do like business automation. So in the coming tomorrow and for the rest of the week, go to the guide. So tomorrow for tomorrow, there's triggers and connecting apps. So let's try to play around with connecting other apps. Like for me, I like Slack a lot. So you can use like Slack. You are not going to be able to connect WhatsApp actually because you need to have like a WhatsApp business account if you want to. But like try other apps that you use in your day-to-day, try to connect it and try to play around with some of these automations yourself. Um, and then the next day we'll be dealing with like filtering and routing. I already gave example of like filtering. I touched upon it a little bit when I created like a label or a filter here. So like filter stuff in between. You don't have to filter only inputs. You could also filter like the output of a step. So for instance, if I feel that what's my GPT model generated, if I feel that I don't want it to mention something, For instance, maybe if a user makes an inquiry and I want my GPT model to auto respond, and I don't want GPT to ever mention anything about profit to the customer in its response, I can basically say that, let me see, response filter. I can basically just say, if the result you are giving the customer here won't be equal to, it's going to be something like contains case insensitive. If it contains the word profits, like just never run, something like that. So in this case, it would be if it does not contain, right? So only run if it does not contain the word profit. So if GPT decides to like run wild and mention like company secret and stuff to it, then the customer never gets a response. Or I could just route it differently. Um, but um, if it's, if the response is something saved, like I got has saved, then yes, we should respond to the customer. And yeah, so that will be, I mean, that's mostly everything that we are doing on automation uh, this time around. So like I mentioned, next week is going to be about, um, triggers and like scheduling. So when you get back to your own respective like computers or desks, actually play around with like the scheduler and just turn on the scheduler and watch stuff auto populate for you. Um, then play around with like filtering and routing. Then here we have like recaps and projects. And towards the end of next week, we'll be working with like agents. So remember that today we basically um what we did was that we were the ones that were determining, based on like the input data, we basically told like the GPT model to like generate responses, right? It's not actually performing an action if you think about it. It's just generating, it's doing what we call chat completion, right? Like a user sent like a message and like it's just generating like a response to that user. But the idea of an agent is like an AI that is autonomous that just based on like some data that it has, it can basically decide that like this is what should be done or this is the right thing that should be done. So it's not just going to like generate responses only. It's going to actually act on our behalf. Um, so part of what it can do is like actually like send emails or um yeah, you can also make like an agent to, let me think of something safe. You can have like an agent also like perform like some computation on your behalf, or even, in safe scenarios, like log into your bank account and you can say maybe if a customer makes, previously we were said if a customer makes an inquiry on like refund, then respond to the customer that will attend to it and then send a message and email to the account officer. But taking it one step higher with agents is you receiving like an input, like a refund complaint from the customer, and then telling ChatGPT that, based on this, if you think analyze the customer's complaints. If you think that like they are super worried, like and they score it on a scale of maybe 1 to 10, 10 being the user is very worried. If you think they are worried above a 9, then automatically just process a refund. And you can actually just connect like your Stripe or account or something to like this OpenAI module and then it does stuff on your behalf. So we'll be exploring that towards the end of next week. And yeah, not sure if there are any questions at this time. All right, cool. If there are no questions, yeah, we are going to, close out the office hour here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about um whatever automation you decide to like make yourself or like try out, and yeah, go out there and build something. Not sure if there's any closing remark from you, Jim.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for attending this evening session, and huge thanks to you, Abib, for such a clear and insightful session. You've taken us through how to set up automations, easy automations using Make. And I think I personally have learned quite a number of things this evening. And as you were working on it, I was also like trying to follow along, and I'm happy that I was able to create some easy automations, connect to like Google Sheets, and kind of worked, which is pretty exciting. So thank you so much for that. So I guess my charge to everyone is to actually try out these things. These things I've learned, try them out, give it a shot. Think about specific use cases in your day-to-day work that this could be relevant to, and give it a shot. If you encounter any challenges, any troubles, any trouble like setting it up, you can reach out to any of us directly and we'll do our best to unblock you. You can maybe just drop a message on the AI Bridge WhatsApp group, and Abib would certainly jump in to help with whatever help you need, or anyone else can also support. Like the whole idea is for this to be a community for us to support one another. So again, thank you everyone for joining this evening. See you same time next weekend. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.